All right, good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So this evening, or this afternoon, as the time will tell, I'm catching up with a new guest co-host, as I always am, but this is not a new guy. I've name-dropped him multiple times on this show. I've name-dropped his team on this show. I've name-dropped his brand on the show. And since I've been podcasting since 2016, I would say in the recent 2 years, a good percentage of your guest co-hosts that you have learned from have come from this man and his team. So there's a lot more to him. He's got a podcast. It might be a hair successful called Create Your Own Life podcast. He's been on some huge shows. I'm a little jelly. We've run into each other at podcast events. We've run into each other at a comedy night in Philadelphia randomly without texting or calling each other. He's been noted as a top 40 under 40 by Podcast Magazine last year. Listen, there's a lot more to him. He lives in the state I was born in, New Jersey. Without further ado, Jeremy Ryan Slate, sir, of Command Your Brand. Welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Just stoked to be hanging out here. I'm attempting to grow a mustache this November, so we're seeing how it goes.
It's solid. It's my wife hates when I grow the beard out. She says it ages me. And I said, well, I mean, I used to have a big beard when I was doing the whole Wild on Fire thing a decade ago. And I said, have you seen that beard? And she's like, yeah, don't ever bring that back. And
well, my wife hates it, but I'm like, honey, it at least makes me look like I'm like my right age. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I look like I'm like 12, you know?
You do have a nice, young, fit jawline. I'll just say it that way. It's a youthful appearance, there, you know, however you want to spin that. So I get it, man. We are getting older, and it's weird. As men, it is true. We age like a fine wine. Or a nice scotch, if you will. So
as long as it's not a rice wine. I don't know if you've had that before. That is terrible.
What is that? I mean, I'm a big no sugar, no grains guy. The famous Vinny Tortorich. I followed his lifestyle before I went even doubling down into the carnivore life the past couple of years. And it's all inflammatory crap. But I mean, rice is a grain. All his things, but yeah, I tasted that one time.
I had it when we were in Beijing a bunch of years ago, and it makes you want to vomit. It's about what it tastes like.
Yeah, I mean, their palates. I studied Okinawan-based karate called Shoin-ryu when I was a kid. So I mean, I could still count to 10. Ichi ni san shi go rokushi hashiku ju, in Japanese. I remember being told to shut up many times as a high energy kid. They yelled yami at me all the time and then beat me with a bamboo stick. I needed martial arts. But I mean, not beat was a stretch, whack on the back of your knees. And I was wearing a gi, so it didn't hurt that bad. But the culture, I don't understand how they could do rice and everything. And the wine, I tried it, not good. If I'm going to drink wine, it's got to come from grapes. I got
it. Me, it's like, I'm a big, like, it has to be the right type of wine too, like a nice Montepulciano or a Chianti or something. I'm more of an Italian wine.
You like the Italian style?
I do, yeah.
I'm into the South American and the Northwest U.S. I'm all about the past couple of years. If I'm drinking it, it's got to be either a nice Malbec or a nice Pinot Noir. And that's just the way it is. I tell people all the time, like, when did you become such a wine geek? And I said, I'm not a geek. I am a bit of a snob, thanks to my wife. Because God love her, when we were dating, we went to South Africa for a quote.
Oh, that's good for wine.
Business trip. Because she's
a nice Shiraz. Yeah, Shiraz or a Malbec from South Africa.
Well, we went to the Franschhoek Wine Valley, which was settled by the French a long time ago. And oh my God, those wines are amazing. And Stellenbosch, I think is how you say it, was an amazing winery we went to. So yeah, after doing that, and then friends of mine getting married in the mountains of California, and we did a whole RV trip through Napa Valley, and then I got spoiled there. And I'm like, sorry, I know what good wine tastes like. I can't stand anything here in our wonderful Northeast. It's too sweet. I can't do it. So, but listen, I didn't bring you on about wine. We got a lot to catch up on. And obviously, as a reminder, we have no format on this show because I like to keep it real because you're the guest co-host. I'm not interviewing you. We're kind of like interviewing each other, right? But is it sad that it's taken us this long to have you come on the show?
I was actually surprised. I was talking to my wife about that this morning. She's like, wait, you've never been on Scott's show? How is that even possible? I've known you for a long time, man.
I know. And that's, the whole JP Sears thing was hilarious too. My wife's like, why do you know that guy? I was like, remember how I ever say Jeremy just got me another dude or another girl or whatever on the show? And she doesn't listen to half the podcast stuff anyway. Unless I'm Joe Rogan, I got nothing. She's made that very clear. So I said, okay, well, you listen to Joe Rogan and I'll keep doing my thing. So, but yeah, I was like, man, why is it taking us so long? And then shout out to Wiley. Wiley, we text from time to time, and he's been on the show. And it's funny because I think I knew Wiley, and we're talking about McGraw, ladies and gentlemen. He's been on the show, and I've known him before you and him got hooked up. So that was
most likely because I think we've known him for like 2 years, and it sounds like you've known him a lot longer than that.
Oh, I ran into him at Cole Hatter's. It was an annual conference called Make Money Matter in California.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. He bounced it back and forth between Cali and Vegas for a couple of years. And that's how I ran into him. He wasn't even there to attend that. He was doing the whole, you drop in at an event, but you don't actually go to the event, but he's in the front lobby of the venue and he just wanted to see what was going on and connect with people. He saw me doing a live podcast in the lobby of a hotel, and then he and I ended up shooting shit. So
I think that's some of the best way to attend an event, though. You know what I mean? Because most events I'm at, like, it's not worth sitting in your seat. I don't know. Like, I've been to a lot of events where kind of like, this sounds like something that's been digested by 3 other people and put up here.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. The best experiences I've had at events that's actually how you and I met, by the way, was at an event.
In person, yes. Yeah. I knew of you. Yeah. I don't know if you knew of me, but I mean, I was like, well, I know that guy. And that was down the first time we met was Atlantic City, right?
It was Atlantic City with Justin Shank.
That's right. And that was not even a Shank event. It was a Joe Pardo event. That was the last time. Yeah, that was the last time he did the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference, which I think he rebranded.
I think it's called something else now. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, Justin and I talked a lot about that. I love you, Joe, but I didn't agree with it. As a marketing professional, I'm like, no, don't rebrand it. It's already established. It was AKA MapCon for years. Yeah. And I spoke at that multiple times.
Well, then you get the situation where you and I just both saying, I don't remember what it's called now. That's a problem.
Yeah. I'm a brand nut. I want a brand that's established and it's just easy to keep with you. And if you're going to do a rebrand, make sure it's solid and it makes sense. So I don't know what it's called. But anyway, I still love you, Joe. But you and I have been busy with our homesteads as well. So
yes,
just have to toss
your homestead is much larger than mine, though, is what it seems like.
It's not that large.
No, it feels large.
It does, because I'm on the side of a mountain and everybody else's woods touch my woods. So it makes my woods look bigger than other people's woods.
That sounds so wrong.
It doesn't it? Right. My wood just looks big because your wood's just as big as my wood.
Everybody else's wood is touching my wood.
Exactly. It's a whole thing. But no, I only have, we picked up 2.8 acres. So
really? We have 4 acres. I didn't realize I had more than you.
You've got more land. I just make it look good on camera, I think. I don't know.
Apparently. What's the barn too? Your barn is massive.
That's actually only a 30 by 35.
Okay. My barn is 8 by 15. So there you go.
Oh, that's like a giant shed.
Exactly. With chickens and a pig in it.
Well, okay, so you're actually using it for animals. I tore down this year the old chicken coop that was on the property behind that barn. And last year I tore down the old shed. There's been a lot of demo. I love demo day, by the way. So I think it's just one of the best workouts ever. I don't think I'll ever pay a contractor to do my demo. Are you about the same way?
They just charge you for it anyway. Right? Like, so we're getting our floors redone in our bathroom as part of our I don't have a bathroom thing we're handling at the moment. And
wait, not one? I thought that was just another bathroom.
No, it's a 100-year-old house, man. So like we're taking and we're actually getting a second bathroom put in as part of this project. But at the moment, you wash your hands in the kitchen sink or the bathroom tub. We have a toilet. We have a giant hole in the wall, and you can see my laundry room throughout the other side of my wall.
I knew you had an older property because that's what we moved from. My wife's great-grandfather had built the house in 1911.
Wow.
So, yeah. But in the 70s, it had been split upstairs, downstairs. Mm-hmm. So when she bought it off the family estate, there was already a renter upstairs. So she just gutted and restored the whole first floor. And then after we dated, I eventually moved from my place to her place and, cohabitation, engagement, marriage, yada, yada, yada. And then when we found this property during 2021 of the crazy overbidding, everything after COVID or during COVID or whatever you want to call that mess. The 12-person bidding war.
It was 10 for us, man. We bought this in 2021 and we ended up paying I think the house was valued at like 340 or something like that. We ended up paying
in Jersey. That's pretty good.
We ended up paying 400 for it to like actually get it. Like it was wild what we were bidding against.
Well, wait, and what month did you buy it?
June of 2021.
Okay, so we closed in May of 2021. Mm-hmm. Ours was valued at 375 and we bought it for 440.
Wow.
Yeah, it was painful.
Yeah. Well,
but I did beat out an all cash offer. So,
well, it was interesting too, because like the thing that happens when that occurs, you're kind of like gritting your teeth whether the the appraisal is going to come through or not, or what you need it to come through at. Which, interestingly enough, they always find a way, especially if you're Donald Trump, to make the appraisal what you want it to be.
That is kind of funny, actually, because I know you're talking about Florida. Hilarious. I wish we had that problem, but the good thing is this. I made that joke just like you just said, not about Trump, but about the rubber stamping is what I called it. Like, approved. I think they were just approving everything, which is okay because now my wife likes to hop on Zillow from time to time and just look at things. And I said, are we buying another property? And she's like, no, I just still like to look. And I said, she's like, here, look at this place. I was like, are we moving? But I mean, apparently we're now like 550. So I was like, cool.
Yeah, we're somewhere over 5, which is surprising to me because it's like, but at the same time, like I look at that and kind of laugh because you look at it and I got some car repairs done recently, and I've always been like a weird, I love Volkswagen person. Oh yeah. So I have a Volkswagen SUV, and I had the last major car repairs I ever had was my previous Volkswagen was like in 2007.
Is this the Touareg?
I have a Tiguan. So it's like kind of the one in the middle where it's not quite because the big one.
Expensive. It's still expensive.
That's so expensive. But like, so I remember having my old GTI fixed in 2007, and it was like at that point in time it was like it was like $80 an hour or something like that for the labor. I remember thinking, wow, that was a lot of money back in 2007. And then now I just had labor done on the car and it was like $140 an hour, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So then it got me thinking. So I went online and took a look. And your dollar since 2007 has lost 60% of its value. So that's the scary part about it, man. Is if you look at it and you're like, oh, my house is worth blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, your dollar is actually just worth half as much as it was. Like that's the actual problem.
The sad part there is and that's one thing I know about you also is that obviously outside of being an amazing, I call it the podcast guest getter. That's a very bad representation of Command Your Brand.
I'm not much better though, man. I'm kind of like, people podcast. What?
Yeah. I get you people. Actually, to be fair, it's more than people. I get you professional people. Your team is amazing. But that whole point is sad because you have to blame everybody on the devaluation of the dollar. It doesn't matter if you're red, blue, or pink. It's everybody keeps screwing it and reducing its value. I was like, okay. And the world economy also, well, at least at one point in time, I don't know about anymore, is still trying to depend on us and our strength. So it's like, yeah, it's not good. Not good at all. So we need some changes.
We do. It's kind of wild because you look at it and it's just like, even federally, they're just kind of like, let's just, like what person lets you run your credit card as much as we run our credit card as a country, man? They would have shut it off long ago and reported it TransUnion or something.
That was a big change. There's a big change for me the past 2 years. I fell in love with Dave Ramsey. And really? I knew about him years ago. And I don't know, dude, something snapped. You know what it was? Actually, my wife called me out. She's an equine veterinary horse doctor and a chiropractic doctor. And she went to Cornell and UPenn. So when I met her, she told me that she had almost $300,000 in school loans.
Wow.
And then she paid them all off as of 2 years ago. And she's 5 years younger than me. And I still had college debt because I went back as an adult student and yada, yada, yada. And then she's just like, yeah, you need to get your shit together. And I was like, all right, challenge accepted. So I've just been blowing everything out. I stopped using credit cards. Everything is cash, whether it's my business or my personal. It is the Visa debit card. I just don't care. I am living the Ramsey way. And because I come from a family that didn't really have their act together financially. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's politics, finance, religion. I don't care. These very polarized subjects for a lot of people. And I'm intrigued to see your point of view on this. But it's like, dude, somebody's got to change the family tree. I'm going to be that guy. It is what it is.
That was one of the hardest things for me, man, is like, I love my parents dearly. Like, don't get me wrong, but like,
absolutely.
But like for them, like they growing up, they had like one $3,000 credit card. And like I remember them looking at that credit card and be like, oh my God, $3,000.
Yeah.
So like I had to the thing I had to deal with when I got into the employment world was like thinking that like $100,000 is a lot of money. And like that was like the ultimate you could make. And I remember looking at all these jobs, like I was actually in the application process for New Jersey State Police.
They get literally because
because I was like, oh, you could make $100,000 3 or 4 years in, like, and that's a lot of money. And it's funny, like now, you know, being in the business world now for like, gosh, like 15 years at this point, you look at it and you're like, that's not a lot of money. That barely pays payroll. So
well, as
me,
big as your team has gotten, yeah.
Well, but to me, I think that was like early on, I feel like that was a big barrier, right? Because you don't take the amount of effort, you know, the amount of action you should. Your goals aren't as big as they are because you're thinking about kind of this small scale thing, right?
The small scale thing is, I think, is a hindrance to a lot of people. That thought process, that mindset, you know, wherever we're going to go with that, it's just, and I think it takes that self effort, that self focus, getting a little bit selfish for a little while and saying, you know what, let's look inside, let's look where we're at and realize, is it the number, you know, or is it really the value of what we're trying to achieve? And that's what I mean, yeah. Do I do over 6 figures? Sure. Do you? Sure. But I always remind people too, like, also, I love when people just throwing around gross numbers, because I was like, that's gross, dude. Let's actually look at what you're actually taking home. Okay.
Well, you know, my favorite is in marketing when people will talk about like agency revenue and they're like including clients' ad spend in their agency revenue. That's my favorite. It's like, no, you run 6 figures of ads for somebody. That's not revenue.
Yeah, it's just passing through. It doesn't count. Yeah. That's like people who, let's say you had a really bad dinner and it passed through you. That's like saying, man, I just got some crazy nutrition tonight. Like, no, you didn't. It was in and out in a few hours, literally. I mean, yeah, that's like having some bad Chinese. I just like, or you know, or Indian food or whatever it may be. It's like, okay, I don't think your body was able to absorb very much of anything out of that. So just like your finances, if it's not in your accounts long enough to be invested or compound interest or whatever you're doing to grow your wealth, it doesn't count. That's how I look at it. So
my wife recently, we had this chili cook-off locally where like everybody in our town like makes their own chili and then we see whose is the best.
Nice.
So she makes her chili. She goes in the closet and she finds this like old ass can of Chipotle peppers. We don't know when this thing was from. She's like, oh, it's a little can. So we could just throw in this whole little can into the
has
chili.
she not worked with Chipotle before?
So dude, I kid you not, it hurt to go to the bathroom for like a week and a half. Yeah. Like it was terrible.
I used to be into all that because, you know, when I was firefighting, I was based in Arizona, in our primary region. And, you know, as a hotshot, you serve the first 2 months of the summer, and then they release you to send you to all the big fires, and all the hotshots just rotate the West because we're very specialized. They send you all the big stuff. But the first couple of months, we were hitting fires in either Arizona or New Mexico because that was region 3. And I learned all about the pepper life out there very quickly. So, and the only time you want to eat those peppers is if you just got off a fire and you were staged on the side of a mountain camping for a couple of days and you've only been eating MREs because you had no other food source being brought in or airlifted in by helicopter, and things are a little bound up. You know?
Yeah.
So then it's like, hey, you know what? Let's go hit some local cuisine on the way back to home base and let's get things moving again.
So is it like a lot of like MREs and like Tang and stuff? Is that how you survive on like a trip like that?
Well, actually, protocol is you have to have 2 MREs in your pack at all times, besides your fire shelter and all the other tools. So, I mean, every wildland firefighter on the side of a mountain has no less than 40, 50 pounds on their back at all times. So,
what is that training like then, man? Like what is that? How do you train for that?
Well, I didn't understand until I went and did that. So I put that in my book as well. But it was in 2010 when I showed up out there. Luckily, I was already pretty fit. But they're like, hey, we're doing 2-a-days for the first 2 weeks of critical training. And I'm like, I didn't join the military. I'm a firefighter. They're like, no, you're a hotshot and you're going to figure out what that's life is like. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, and we're doing CrossFit. This is back in 2010. I'm like, what's CrossFit? I didn't know what it was. I mean, thanks to that, I became a CrossFit trainer for many years. and I built my own gym out here in the barn. So it's obviously left a lasting effect. But yeah, it's weighted pack heights, and they did things where they would just stage things along the hike without you knowing, if you're in your home base. And our base was in the mountains of Arizona, by the way. Reminder for ladies and gentlemen, Arizona is not just a flat desert. That's just the valley, aka Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're driving through like the Utah area by Arizona, everything like that. It's all mountains, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So our base was at 6,000 feet. So we were doing high altitude training and 2-a-days for the first 2 weeks with no days off, because once the fire season kicked in, that was your life. You're doing 2 weeks straight, no days off, 16-hour shifts, unless it's an aggressive fire that we need to fight in the evenings. Then you were doing an all-night fight or whatever. It's crazy. So I got even more fit very, very quickly. So it's like, oh, you thought you were fit? No. But their job was to beat you up like the Marines. I felt like they were just purposely trying to channel the energy of all branches of the military just balled into one. I don't know what it was. So, but it was great.
That's how I feel watching Vikings recently. It's like, man, I would love to be a total badass like those guys. I'm going to change my name to Ragnar or something.
Do I need to watch that? Because
dude, it's pretty good. I was listening to an interview with a historian about it. Like basically they took, because the Viking period is like 200 years, like the 800s and 900s.
Yeah.
But they took a whole bunch of guys that lived and made it seem like they all lived at the exact same time and were all related to each other. So like the story itself is bullshit and not true, but the storyline is very interesting. And it's like, man, these guys were like rugged.
Well, they definitely were. I mean, Vikings have that. I think their brand is very long lasting and established, but I don't watch a ton of television, and my wife loves the whole, like she's just medical brain all day. So when she comes home, she clearly must need to do a mind dump because she watches all the Bachelorette stuff. And I just can't.
I don't know about that.
I can't.
No.
Sometimes I have to sit there with her to get quality time. And I'm just like, can we please just put on like HGTV or something? I mean, because my brain hurts a lot. I can't do it. But as long as I'm quality, you probably saw the puppy coming and going.
Yeah.
He just got fixed a few days ago. So we had to.
That's no fun. Well,
instead of putting those annoying donut ring things on, she found a company that makes, it's just like it's kind of like a onesie for dogs, like you would get for a baby. And then that way she can't lick or chew anything. It just zips on, and it's like a onesie for dogs. So
they had a sign at my vet a number of years ago, and it said spay or neuter your best friend, right? Thinking it's an animal. And I'm thinking about it, I'm like, if you spayed or neutered somebody, they wouldn't be your best friend very much longer, man.
Yeah. Like, hey guys, come on over tonight. We're gonna have a spaying party because I love you guys. All right. Yeah, because I was just telling, I had, so Friday night, I've been thinking about this for a year. And I was like, I've had tons of guys reach out to me. I'm like, dude, we got to do something manly. And I said, well, I do it every week. Just watch Facebook. And
same here.
I mean, right. It's like you and I are either splitting firewood or remodeling something or whatever when we're not on the microphones and doing. Yeah,
I get so excited. Like, oh my God, I got a new 12-pound maul. How exciting is that? But anyway.
Right. Yeah. Like I felt guilty when I bought a hydraulic splitter. And the only reason why I did, because I needed to speed up my production. That was all. I needed efficiency. I travel a lot. I was like, you know what, dude, I need my inventory up for the winter, because even though we have a modern central air system, it's expensive to run the heat in the winter in the Northeast. So it's like, I'm going to burn some wood and I got to have my capacity. So, and you get that as well. You said you had a cord and a half?
Cord and a half, but we'll probably have to get some more probably around January-ish, because we go through quite a bit every night.
Yeah, I'm probably at about 2.5 cords right now. So, wow. And there's still a whole stack of rounds back behind my barn that I just got done bringing in. I could source wood forever. I have so many.
I get neighbors that call me and they're like, so I got a tree down. You want to come cut it up? And I'm like, yeah.
I'm that guy. Yeah,
I'm that guy. I'll come over with my chainsaw, my trailer. I'm ready to go, man.
Dude, we're brothers from another mother, man. Because I don't have the trailer, but my Dr. Bill on top of the mountain, he shares a drive with me. Him and his wife, he's got this. He's a foot doctor, right? And he obviously has done well for himself because he didn't like how his money was doing in the market this year. So all of a sudden, I see a Ferrari being delivered down on the main road. And I'm like, what are they doing here? And then he comes walking down the mountain and then drives it back up to the house. And I'm like, hey, Bill, how's everything going? I guess life is good. He's like, it's used.
It's used.
He's like, I didn't like how my money was performing in my 401k. And I was like, it's your business. He has his own foot doctor business. He goes, still. And I was like, are you retiring? He's like, no. I said, okay. But then he's got this big, beefy, dual-wheeled pickup truck and then he didn't like how small his plow was, so he bought a bigger plow blade to fit the bigger truck when he got rid of the old truck. And I was like, all right, bro. So this winter, I was like, if we get the snow we need, he's plowing, and then I picked up a salt spreader for my quad, and I'll go and salt the whole mountain. And we got a whole teamwork thing.
Your salt spreader is the exact reason that apparently the doctor didn't get the memo. On the East Coast, you do not get a nice sports car. You get something with big wheels or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's why he's got the big truck. So he already had the big truck before the Ferrari. Now the Ferraris.
But I mean, like, you can't drive that thing because you're going to pick up all the shit on the road. Like, that thing's it's coming out in May and June and July, and that's it, man.
I agree. I was like, dude, you're only gonna be able to drive that in like September. I mean, because you're right.
It's going to corrode the whole undercarriage, and it's over.
I don't know. I was like, listen, I love making money, but as my wife and I love to do, we take big, cool ski trips. That's how we spend it. It's like, dude, that's how we got married. We did a heli skiing wedding in the Canadian Rockies. It was like, people were like, what? You could do that? And I said, that's how she convinced me to marry her. I was like,
so when I met my wife back in 2010, wow, it's been that long. I did not ski, and she actually taught me how to ski, and double black diamonds now, man.
Attaboy.
Come a long way, man.
Well, my wife, so the local mountain here is Blue Mountain. And since you're
no kidding. I've skied Blue Mountain before.
20 minutes from my house. I'll be there. Okay. 25. So my wife grew up ski racing on the BMR team.
It's a small mountain, by the way, Blue Mountain.
It is. I mean, well, any mountain in the Northeast is small.
Whiteface is huge.
I'll give you that. And then I was a race coach for 11, 12 years at Camelback. But she loves to rub that, even though I ran race operations, and this was like you didn't do it to make money. It was just gives you something to do in the winter. But she grew up since the age of like 3 skiing. I didn't start learning to ski till I was 18.
Okay.
So she loves to bring up the fact that I just look like somebody muscling the mountain when we're out west, and she's the graceful snow princess, just effortlessly skiing everywhere. And I say, listen, either way, we're both getting down there. I mean, it's fine.
My 5-year-old, this is going to be her 3rd season skiing. And she's like one of those, what I like to call like thunder bunnies. Like, they don't have poles yet, and they're just kind of like doing all these tricks, running down the mountain and flying back and forth and going really fast. And you're like, where is that troll going?
No, dude, you're smart though, man. Good job. I want to give you kudos as a dad, as a former coach. It's amazing when you can get those kids in young, because they develop the no fear.
She has no fear whatsoever.
No. Meanwhile, like, you have fear for her.
Yes.
But admittedly, they're that tiny. It's a lot harder to run them over too. Because when I was coaching, I remember I had some guy out of control coming down the mountain. I got 15 kids with me, and I hear him, and I turn, and I'm like, guys, go. I get down to the lift. At the last second, he's coming right at me. So I basically like kind of relaxed, bear hugged him, and kicked into a 360 and released him and sent him on his way.
Oh, Jesus.
That was like the best catch and release that I've ever had skiing in my life.
I was at Whiteface 2 years ago, and we're coming down. It's right after you get off of the gondola. There's this one run coming down. There's this big corner coming around. And and then over on the left, there's these trees where everybody else skis to the right. So my brother-in-law and I are coming around the corner. This guy comes behind us, and you could hear how fast this motherfucker was going. Can I say motherfucker on here?
Yeah. Dude,
you could hear how fast. You could hear how fast he was going. You hear the skis vibrating, and he comes flying by us, takes off into the trees, and it's just boom. I've never seen somebody hit a tree that hard.
Was this a ski patrol incident?
Eventually, yeah. I don't know what happened to the guy, but you could be like, oh my gosh, he has no control, and there he goes, boom.
The guys. Dude, there's this guy. All right, there was one guy. Actually, he's still around. What do we call him? 2-turn Bernie. This guy, I know
Bernie Sanders.
No, different Bernie. But
My wife got run over by him once in Vermont, but anyway.
Oh dear God, no. This is just a local Bernie guy here
Okay.
between here and the Poconos. He had this full face helmet with like the teeth painted on it like an A10 Warhawk type of helmet, and this guy would show up on like 210 length ski race, like GS turn ski racing skis.
Did he have Born to Kill painted on the side of his helmet?
The guy's like in his 50s back when I first met him. Now he's like 60s or 70s, and he's just two-turn Bernie. He just gone. But he actually has control, and he knows how to ski. It's just, I always tell people, if you see that helmet, get the hell out of his way. Because he's just going to get down as fast as he can and get right back on that lift. And that's how he skis the East Coast mountains, because you can turn around a lot more runs.
Well, I don't go past midway lodges most of the time, because you get down to the bottom and you deal with everybody else that only wants to go.
It's a circus act. Yeah. You have all the ski school kids and the people who clearly should take a lesson and think they don't need it. And then, it's just, you want to stay away from that. It's awful. But yeah, I'm glad you learned to ski then, man. Congratulations. See, now we got to ski. We got to ski together, man.
I love skiing. I hate moguls, but I love skiing. I hate moguls.
I'm not a fan of moguls either.
My knees hate them.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. I mean, now granted, if you can learn to ski moguls, it makes you a bulletproof skier.
Oh, absolutely. But I just don't have a desire to do that.
No. And I'm basically 6'4", so my long ass legs taking that beat down. I'm
5'7" on a good day, so it's kind of like not that bad.
Yeah. Well, it's still a beat down. It doesn't really matter. And I'm 46, so I got a few years on you. So, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I got another buddy. He's 5 years younger than me. He grew up ski racing. He was a race coach in Colorado. Every time we go over to Blue Mountain, he's hitting the moguls. And I'm like, all right, bro. I'm like, you got it, man. And
so I actually learned to ski on Blue Mountain. That is the mountain I learned to ski on for the very first time. My wife goes, all right, we're going skiing tomorrow. I'm like, okay, cool. I have no ski equipment. I have nothing whatsoever.
Rent it. Yeah.
So no. So this is what she does. Like my wife's one of those people that like decides to like source things from other people in the family.
Oh no.
So my father-in-law is 6'5", like this 6'5", like hulking guy. So she gives me his ski pants, which don't fit me. Hold on, which don't fit me. So she has Ski Patrol give me like a yellow piece of rope to hold the pants up, and then her brother doesn't have a ski helmet, but he has an army helmet with a spike on top of it. And her other brother gave me a blue North Carolina jacket from like 1997.
Wait, the old oh my God, everybody collected that jacket. I know what you're talking about.
Yes, it's like the pullover that doesn't have a zipper on it. Yep.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah. So I was like I must have had a sign on me that said, "Stay the hell away from that guy, or you're going to get hurt."
Well, yes. I think she was punking you, but that's, I mean, God love her. She got you on the skis. But as you now have learned, the one thing you could ever invest in is boots. If your boots fit,
so
you can ski anything.
I still have the walk-in boots from the 80s, and I love them because they're the greatest thing ever. Because then they got the twist on the back, so they just get tight. It's amazing.
Those boots, when I learned to ski at Blue Mountain, the very first day, I destroyed my shoulder, which led to a shoulder surgery about a year later because I had the rear entry boots. And I love those things. I took my lessons, and then you can hit that release and you can walk. So I walked in because my buddy was working that day as an instructor separately. And he goes, "Hey man, I just finished my shift. Let me go really teach you how to ski." This is day one. And I had just finished the regular lessons without poles. He's like, "Hey, go in and grab a set of poles. I'll show you, your positioning, having the pole plant, yada, yada, yada." So I just walk in, I get them, I get back out, I forget to latch the boots. So no. I'm just flipping around there. Yeah. Skis crossed, going down the mountain, double ejection, Superman slammed into some ice. Yeah. It was great.
Oh my God. It's such a pleasure moment for me to remember that first time skiing. It's like freaking army helmet with camo on it with a spike on the top and motorcycle goggles.
Did she take a photo? Because I think you need to text that to me if she could find that.
That was 2010, man. So that was when cameras on phones were like very low res. So I don't think that photo exists. Dude,
it's probably good though. It doesn't. I mean, you could have put that on the cover of your book, like the back cover, like your author profile. I mean, that's really, dude. All right, brand transparency, truth. I mean, willing to humiliate yourself
in public, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, it probably would not have helped your book though. Which, by the way,
You look like freaking Crash Bandicoot, man.
Oh my God, yes, that is a good way to tie that together.
PlayStation.
See, this is why I wanted you to come on, man. I mean, we need to have more than one appearance. Obviously, we can get into some more professional stuff, but this is like the icebreaker of connections because we've been overkill. And I wanted to make sure, by the way, because I know we let you go at the top of the hour. I don't want to cut right out of the ski story, but we definitely established the humility and the growth since then. So great job. And we talk about, we fuel your health, business, and lifestyle on the show. So you definitely hit on your healthy growth since an Army helmet with a spike and a Carolina ski jacket.
With the pants with the bright yellow rope tying up the pants.
I mean, dude, if that was modern day today, people would have been documenting you and putting you all over Instagram. I
would have been so famous, man. Yeah. I missed out on TikTok.
Easily. Because there's a feed on Instagram that I follow. It's called Jerry of the Day. You would have been the Jerry because that is the term in the ski world. It is whether it's appropriate or not. Back in the day, people used to use the word, retarded. We know that's not good, but just that weird ass person who clearly doesn't look like they know what the hell they're doing. That's the Jerry of the Day. The guy who hit the trees, that's the Jerry of the Day. Your Army helmet with a spike easily would have gotten you into Jerry of the Day. With the rest of the ensemble, dude, you might have won it for the year. I mean,
Jerry
I don't know.
Jerry of the year.
So give your wife a commendation from me.
I will.
As a longtime skier, I absolutely love that story. So, but let's at least segue a little bit for the book love. So,
sure.
Well, this is actually not your first book, though. No. So you've already been an author, but I want to tie this in.
My first book story is nuts, though.
What's the first book story then?
So I wrote my first book, Unremarkable to Extraordinary, over 2 years, and we launched it in 2022. We had a launch party, all that great jazz. We come to launch day, and people are buying the book, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I'm getting messages from people. Your book is sold out. I'm like, what do you mean my book is sold out?
How long ago did you do this?
What's it?
How long ago did you do that?
This is 2022.
Okay, so did you self-publish on Amazon or did you use a publisher?
No, we work with a publisher. This is where the story gets even better. So we're working with it was like a small publisher. We're working with a publisher, and I get messages from people, "Hey, your book is sold out." I'm like, "Whoa, that's incredible." I'm now getting messages from people, "Your book is out of print." I'm like, "What? My book is out of print?"
You just launched it.
So here's what I find out. My publisher, things weren't going so hot for the publisher, but they didn't publicly share that. And apparently they went out of business on the day my book launched. And nobody could get my book. And I had to find another publisher that was willing to pick the book up, which actually ended up being a better opportunity for us because it was a much bigger publisher. But that was wild, man, trying to recover from that.
So did the publisher drop the ball?
The publisher dropped the ball. They knew things were not really going so hot and didn't tell me.
I'd pull the contract too. So, I mean,
I didn't pull the contract. They were like, "Hey, I just want to let you know we actually can no longer fulfill your book." I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you.
Are they still a publishing company?
No.
Okay, I was going to say, come on. You screwed that up? I mean, no. I mean, okay.
No longer.
There's no legacy company right there. So clearly, one, I truly believe that the speed bumps we hit in life are meant to help us grow and succeed and learn along the way. So clearly you learned a lot from that. So the new book.
Yes.
That is obviously going smoother.
Oh, it's going way smoother. We hit number one for the public relations category on Amazon, which was really exciting because I really do see what we do as PR. I think most people think podcast appearances are a marketing thing, and I think they can complement, but I really think it is a PR strategy. It's about connecting with the right people. It's about getting the right positioning. It's about having great conversations. And I just don't think everybody sees it that way. So it's gone pretty well. I did something pretty cool with the audiobook. We used 11 labs, and we actually had AI copying my voice, write the entire audiobook in an hour.
Are you serious?
It is. Dude, I played it for my wife. She goes, that's not you. She's like, it sounds like you. So we did some really cool stuff with the audiobook.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been screen sharing this stuff so you can watch this stuff on Amazon, and I'll have the links for the books and stuff, and you can follow them on Amazon too. But Command Your Brand is the name of the new book, Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence in a New Media Landscape, and obviously named after his company. I love it. And you might have something for me because when I released my book 2 years ago, So You Want to Be a Hotshot, obviously a story of what I went through to be a hotshot wildland firefighter, one of the elite, but I wanted to really get the story down. I didn't plan on writing a book. It's just after the years of podcasting, I just realized, I got to put this message out there, the transformation, the inspiration, the growth. But the one thing I didn't do yet is the audiobook. And most of the books I listen to, because I travel so much, is audio, just like podcast. I'm a voracious podcast consumer, not just a podcast host, and an audiobook consumer. And I'm like, I might have to look at what you did.
Okay,
that could be exciting.
Okay, let me see if I can do it. Can I share audio here?
You should be able to. You're the co-host.
Oh, I'm going to show you audio here. My wife was shocked that this wasn't me. Hold on.
Yeah, you're sharing computer sound.
That's what I want to do. I'm not going to. It's just a sound file.
Let's see if it comes through clear or not.
Command Your Brand. Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence in a New Media Landscape by Jeremy Ryan Slate.
That's AI.
That's AI?
That's AI.
You didn't at least record that? I thought that was just you first.
No, I gave it a podcast I did that was a solo episode, and I said, this is my voice.
Oh, man, I just had this debate on Friday at the Men of Mindset out in my barn. I was saying how I'm not willing to embrace too much AI yet. And
so I think
you might have just changed me.
There's the difference. There's lazy AI and there's figuring out how to use it to actually like strengthen what you're doing and be more productive. I'm big on figuring out how to be more productive with it. Like, here, check this out.
We're entering the new age of the human voice. It feels new and exciting, like radio at the turn of the century, an insight that we've never had before. Just this week, I was listening to Joe Rogan interviewing Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi is coming on my show.
Isn't that wild?
Dude, it is. Well, I was expecting to hear at least some electronic delay or some hesitation for the flow of the read, but it's flowing.
And we did no correction either. I found somebody, I found a producer to basically just take the files from me and put them to like the plus minus that they like for decibels and stuff for Amazon, but that's about it. Like,
I already have an audio editor lined up through my friend who helped me self-publish my book, and now she's since launched a publishing company thanks to my teamwork with her. And then she already gave me an audiobook guru to use. I just need to, and he already said, he's like, dude, he's like, everything I have here, he's like, minimal editing I got to do to make Audible happy. But what's that called again? 11 something?
11 Labs, 11labs.io. And it's funny because it's a feature called Voice Lab. And what you can do is you give it, there's two different versions. There's like one that it'll do like an exact copy of your voice. But you need to give it like 40 minutes of audio and it takes forever. Like the audiobook has been up for 2 weeks and it's still trying to do that exact copy of my voice. So the one that I actually did, you give it 5 minutes of your voice and it gets pretty darn close, man. There's a couple pronunciations that are a little weird, but other than that, like, I'm like, for the amount of time I saved and for how good this sounds, I'm not going to worry about a couple pronunciations.
I'm very impressed by that because that's what most of my fans or people I know in my circle said, Scott, it's your story. And they said, I have the mic voice, whatever that means. They said, yeah, you got to do your own audiobook. Yeah. And I agree. I love it when an author does their own book. But dude, that's your voice. I mean, yes, your wife's going to notice the slight differences because you live together, but dude, that's solid, man.
She didn't until I told her. I was like, hey, listen to this. And she goes, wow, that's really good. How'd you get that done so fast? I'm going to go, it's AI. And she's like, what?
All right. See,
so
this is why
I've done some pretty cool things with AI because when you figure out how to use it correctly, right? Like you can add a level of productivity to what you're doing. That's incredible. So like one of the things I did is our company, funny enough that we're called Command Your Brand, we've actually never had a brand standards manual. And when you get to a certain level and you have you're bringing on like contractors to do things, or you have employees that are creating marketing materials or stuff, you want everything to be on brand. Like it's got to be really, really important. Like, what is our brand voice? What do we stand for? What colors do we use? With everything like that. So I actually used ChatGPT, GPT-4 to write a brand standards manual. And one of the and when people think about it, the way they think about it using AI is, write me a blog post about Scott Mulvaney. Okay, good. Thanks. Wow, this is a terrible blog post. The way you should actually use ChatGPT or generative AI like that is what I started with is I told a little bit about my company and our brand and what we stand for. I said, okay, cool. Now I want to write a brand standards manual for my company. If I was to write that, tell me what that should contain. And then it thought for a couple minutes and it told me what it should contain. I'm like, great, let's start on part 1. And I was like, okay, ask me all the questions that I should be answering so that we can properly write the preface to this. And you kind of take it through and just kind of have a conversation with it, and you get some pretty awesome stuff, man.
Well, and I have a VA that I've been trying to dump more work onto, right?
Yeah.
Because eventually you reach a point, what do you want to call them, a personal assistant? Whatever. You and I both understand the power of using people in other countries to really grow your company. And I mean, the Philippines is amazing. I just absolutely.
We went to Manila. We went to Manila in April.
I watched that,
and we met 8 people that have worked for me for like since 2018. It was pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Well, I had oh God, what's the name of his? One of the big
John Jonas.
Yes, I had him on the show years ago. Thank you. I was
probably from me. Probably from me. Previous client. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, John is phenomenal. That might have been an early intro, to be honest with you. I don't even remember because it's so long ago. But he was the first guy to really turn me on to considering a VA, and he promoted. He said, he's like, I'm still working with my first ever VA. Wow. He's like, now obviously he's the head guy and yada yada. And he's like, but culturally, they care about good English better than, the Indian culture. And just from it, because I used to work in that telecom world, call center world, outsourcing world. I knew all that stuff. But India back in the day was the big outsourcing country to work with. And then the Philippines just skyrocketed. So, your dollar goes a much longer way.
Yeah. We went to it was a high-end steakhouse. It was called the Wolfgang Puck Steakhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And I fed 15 people for like $400, which is unusual when you're going to a steakhouse where everything's a la carte. You know what I mean?
That's funny because my little random impromptu, I actually wrote it down here. Meta Mindset evening. I actually wrote down my costs just because it was like a first time kickoff and it was impromptu. But I was like, okay, I had a budget. I was like, let me spend like $500, for have a bunch of guys over. It was 6 of us total, and it was $568.20. But I mean, most of that was the steak. I bought some big steaks and some beverages. So,
well, here's my favorite AI process that you have to start using. It's a game changer. So, one of the biggest things when you're bringing on other people or you're training a VA or anything else is like creating processes where you can actually train somebody off of, right? Like
absolutely
step by step. So, I use a tool called Crisp.ai. I'm actually using it right now, and it's a background sound filter. It pulls out background noise. But it also makes a transcript of every call I have that's longer than 5 minutes. Nice. So what I do is I do a Zoom screen recording of me walking through a process, and making sure I say, and now I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to do that, and now I'm going to do this. So I take the transcript, and then I copy that, and I paste it into a Google Doc, and then I have a Google Doc extension called GPT for Docs and Sheets.
Yep.
Because regular Chat GPT can only accept like 4,000 characters.
That's a good point.
GPT for Sheets and Docs can accept 20 pages. So then I can say, based on this transcript, write me a step-by-step process on how to do what I'm talking about in this transcript. Dude, I wrote an entire job posting in like 2 days.
I love that because I support everything you're saying because I've been using Trello for years. As a project management back end. And that's what I started using to write the guidelines and stuff for my VA because they can easily share access. I can share work cards, yada, yada, yada. My entire back end of the entire history of this podcast is in Trello. And I've done that to launch, branding projects with my clients and stuff like that. So, and that's just one app. So obviously, and they all integrate and tie in, like you're saying. I remind people all the time, Otter.ai?
Yeah.
So I have been using AI for a while because Otter is how I wrote my book. I travel too much. So I would just turn the Otter on when I'm driving and bang out 15, 20-minute recordings. It made more work later for the editing.
Yes.
Although probably not anymore. I'm sure the AI has improved. But I had the whole book written in 3 months. Thanks to Otter.
I did mine from voice notes and Google Docs. And then what I did is I took a bunch of transcripts from podcast episodes and I took those in to add some color.
Nice.
But like, if you get smart, man, like that's the thing is like, people are going to talk about like, hey, AI is going to take my job and blah, blah, blah. Well, for some people it might, right? But you have to look at the Industrial Revolution, how that happened. Like it took some jobs, but it created entire industries. And I think that's what you're going to see with people using AI to kind of strengthen what they're doing rather than being lazy, right? Because there was a lawyer that got disbarred for asking ChatGPT about case law that didn't exist. But like, if you can figure out how to get stronger and more efficient at what you're doing, that's where it's useful.
That's where I'm with you. And real quick, time check. I wanted to make sure you were done by the top of the hour or so, because you got to get ready for a seminar. So, I mean, it's funny. We're dropping knowledge bombs at the end, but that's why, like, I just keep an open format. I wanted to get you on. We needed to properly connect, and get some energy flowing, because then we can justify doing a second follow-up and really get deeper into, command your brand. And obviously I love hitting on this AI thing as well, because I have been dabbling in it, but you've convinced me to dig a little bit deeper in some other areas, because I do promote all the time for my clients and just friends and colleagues. Like, dude, anytime you can improve efficiencies, optimize operations, you're going to become more profitable and more efficient. And then that helps you grow. And in your case, right, hire more people.
Well, even from this perspective, like let's say you have a fully written blog post, right? And you have it's well written, it's written by a human being. You could take that now, paste into ChatGPT. You could say, optimize this for XYZ keywords, include meta tags, include H1, H2, H3. And like, you can optimize for SEO that way. Like, that's something you couldn't do before.
That is pretty sweet. I love that. Yeah. You're dropping bombs, man. I love it. That's how you end a podcast show, by the way. As we're exiting and approaching the end here, is like, dude, just that's your cliffhanger, because we got to get you back on if you're game, and dig a little bit deeper into, obviously, I already promoted you at the beginning of the show. I obviously love Command Your Brand. I tell people all the time, you are my number one reference platform, or whatever you want to call it, platform, reference, agency. I'm calling them agencies now. Are you guys, is it an agency? I mean,
we kind of went through the whole, like, do you call it an agency? Do you call it a firm? And I think we arrived at agency, because it just makes more sense. Like, a firm isn't really.
It's a talent agency, but for podcasters. You know? And there's only really one other one. There's so many of them now, but half of them, they really suck. I mean, I'll just go ahead and say it.
Well, yeah, and like, it's funny, like you mentioned Wiley, like, just asking about the level of bookings we get for clients. Like, it's
I told him when he told me
it's
he was
like kind of wild, man. Like, what we're able to actually get from somebody.
When I told him I was working with you, he told me he was working with you. I was like, oh, strong work. He goes, yeah, I just needed something to really get more going. I'm like, yeah, they'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. He's like, oh, well, thanks for the vote of confidence. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, they're great at what they do. And nowadays, like I said, there's so many podcasts. Like, I was just going to share with you here. I don't know if all these are still active, but I built it into my Trello system. And here we go. So here's your work card that'll get built out. But like, here's right, referred by. Look at all of these different agencies.
Oh, geez.
I was like, half of these suck, but I just want to know, because I'm like, no, I'm probably going to decline it. or like, you guys are one of the tops, and Interview Valet. I'll give them a shout out just because they're good.
Yeah, Tom's a good dude. I've met him on a couple occasions.
Yeah. I mean, Karen's always reaching out to me. She texts me. We've met actually at Justin Shank's event when he last ran it here in Reading, Pennsylvania. So they're good people, but they only bring on certain people. I notice they have to hand people off from time to time if it doesn't align with their values. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that.
It's funny. They've handed some off to us that have actually been great fits for us. So we've actually had a good back and forth like that.
Yeah. And I figured out where that misalignment might've been.
Yeah, it's fine. You got to know what works for you and what doesn't.
Exactly. So, well, I want to make sure you have time to get ready for your next seminar tonight. So I want to bring the show to a close. I hate to, because normally we'll just keep rocking and rolling. And we are approaching the top of the hour already. So it's pretty impressive. So I want to give you the opportunity to help close the show out. I do this with all my guest co-hosts. Years ago, it was some final words. But what I've personally followed you on, I just want to give you respect and commendation, because
this is good or this is bad.
No, it's not easy to speak out or speak up nowadays on things you believe in. And I've been doing it more as well. And this, again, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, hint, politics, it's just, I don't talk a lot about politics on the show or religion, but I was like, dude, I respect you for stepping up and saying, you know what? Somebody's got to be real. Somebody's got to talk about what's going on. We have to at least bring it into the forefront, into the air. I miss the old days when I was a kid and we had like debate teams at high school. Like, nobody wants to debate anything anymore.
Too soft now.
Right? Everything's soft. So that's why I had this meta mindset thing on Friday. And I'm like, yo, like, all of a sudden, like, there's something called toxic masculinity. If that's true, I'm going to rebrand. I'm going to call it toxic. I'm going to be the most toxic man ever, because I'm married, my wife is happy, and there's nothing toxic about it. So I don't know what's going on with society right now, and I'm happy to represent it.
It's so interesting though, because I think the craziest part about it is like anything that's not far left is now far right, which is like, you're forgetting about the entire rest of the world, man. How did we get here?
And what about liberals, and all the other things? Like there's all this stuff in between, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that being said, kudos to you for
Thank you.
balancing your life, having the profession, and then still being willing to grow your personal and put your personal following at risk. I mean, nowadays you can't even talk about stuff without, you're going to drop 5,000 followers or get all this hate chat and all this other stuff. That's why I love people like Joe Rogan. He's like, I don't look at my notifications. I have no idea what people comment on. He's like, I don't have time for it. So, but that being said, final words shifted. It shifted to a legacy message. And watching your growth over the years, I know it's not going to be a problem for you to bring up, because I said, you know what? Instead of final words of the show, I want people to say, you know what? If I ignored everything else about the show, but I hung out to the end, what is a legacy message that you would like to leave behind for listeners out there? That it could be your family, it could be your business. But what is something you would like to, have tagged to Jeremy?
I think for me, the thing that really made me look at it is my kids. Because I know one of the biggest things that has been an issue now is we seem to forget that there's 2 genders on planet Earth. There are not, it's not Baskin Robbins, man. There's not 37 different ones. And I think when I looked at that, like the way it's a threat to kids is the thing that made me look at, like, how am I going to feel if I didn't stand up for my kids? And I think that's what it came down to is, whether people like me or don't like me, I really don't give a shit, but I can look my kids in the face every day and say, you know what? Your dad's trying to make this world better for you because he wants you to have a world like he grew up in. And I think that's what we need to be continuing to forward is what you're doing, creating this world to be better for your kids. And I think when we're not looking at it that way, man, you got to really take a hard look in the mirror.
Well said. I mean, I don't have kids, so I can't speak that legacy message, and you definitely did, and I respect that. I'm just a puppy dad. But I fully align and agree with everything you just dropped. So hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Ryan Slate, command your brand. And as a reminder, I will screen share one more time. It's not just the name of the company. That is the new book release. It's already a bestseller. And obviously, thanks to AI, he kicked my ass and already beat me with the audiobook. So go listen to that as well, because I will be. And I highly recommend, if you're a newer podcaster or existing podcaster out there, prior co-host who still listens to Live the Fuel, check them out if you're not partnering with them now. I name drop them all the time. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Jeremy helped us do that today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys again soon.